What's up guys, Zenari here, and today we're going to be doing a deck profile for Nightmare Dolls for the V Series V Premium format. So I actually wanted to do this for a while, and since one of my friends, he's a big Pale Moon main, and I wanted to actually try to play the deck. I just never got around to trying it, so I played a little on my off time. And I really like how the deck functions, so I kind of wanted to show what I've been playing with and what I've been testing with. This isn't like the best variation, but this is a variation that I like a lot. So let's just get it started. So we're gonna talk about the boss of the deck, Nightmare Doll Chelsea. So it has two effects. Auto Vanguard Circle, at the end of battle, it attacked, cost count +1, call to 2 Workroid from your soul to RC. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, those called units gets 10 power to the end of turn. And auto Rigor Circle, at the end of battle, attacked. If your Vanguard is a Workroid cost, put this unit to the soul, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards, and your opponent puts that unit to the soul. Next, we're playing 2 Nightmare Doll Alice. It has 2 effects. Auto Vanguard Circle, when placed, call up to 1 Workroid from your soul to RC, and that unit gets fought as a power to the end of turn. Then auto Rigor Circle, at the end of the battle that attacked, cost count +1, soul +1. Put this unit to soul and call a non-grade 3 card from your soul to Rigor Circle. Next, we're playing 4 Nightmare Doll Carol. She has 2 effects. Vanguard Circle, auto, when placed, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, put up to 1 card from among them into your soul, and shuffle your deck. If you put a grade 3 Workroid, you may call that card to RC. Then auto Vanguard Circle, when your grade 3 rear guard is put to your soul, cost count +1, discard 2 cards from your hand, and ride a Workroid from your soul as stand, and that unit gets draw -1 to the end of turn. Next, we're playing 4 Nightmare Doll Marissa. So I only have 1 effect. Auto Vanguard Rigor Circle, when placed from hand, cost, put a card from your hand into your soul, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 2 non-grade 2 Workroid normal units from among them and put them into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Next, we're playing 1 Jumping Jill. Only has 1 effect. So auto Rigor Circle, one place from soul, cost, put another one of your rear guard into your soul and call a non-grade 2 card from your soul to RC in your back row. Next, we're playing 3 Nightmare Doll Alien. Cost, it only has 1 effect. Auto Rigor Circle, when it attacks, cost count +1, and put another Workroid on your RC into your soul. Draw a card, and this unit gets 10 of power to the end of that battle. And then lastly, we're playing 3 of Nightmare Doll Rhoda. So only has 1 effect. Auto Rigor Circle, one play, 15 unit gets 2000 power until the end of turn for each Workroid on your Vanguard or Rigor Circle. Next, for the grade 1s, we're playing 4 Nightmare Doll Abigail. Auto Vanguard Circle, one placed, soul charge 1, and the second effective auto Rigor Circle at the end of your turn. Cost, retire this unit and return a grade 3 Workroid from your soul to your hand. If your Vanguard is Workroid, counter 1. Next, we're playing 1 Brassy Bunny. Only has 1 effect. So auto Vanguard Rigor Circle, one place from hand. Cost, discard a card from your hand, draw a card, and if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, soul charge 2. Next, we're playing 3 of Nightmare Doll Edith. Has 1 effect. So it's the same as Rhoda. So when it's placed on Rigor Circle, it gets 2000 power to the end of turn for each Workroid on your Vanguard Rigor Circle. And then next, we're playing 1 Nightmare Doll Maron. It only has 1 effect. Auto in the soul, when your Vanguard is placed on VC, call this unit to RC, and this is a hard one to turn, so you can't use multiple cards of this in the same turn. And lastly, for the grade 1s, we're playing 3 Nightmare Doll Beverly. It only has 1 effect, so Rigor Circle, when your other Workroid is placed in the same column as this unit, that unit gets fought as power to the end of the turn. Now for the triggers, we're playing 3 draw PGs and 1 normal draw. So that's 4 draw triggers. We're playing 3 critical triggers, one of them being the Sentinel crit. So we got 3 crits. And we're playing 5 fronts and 4 heals. So the winning image of this deck is basically to create multiple high-powered columns and attacks on your grade 3 turn or greater. So Carol allows you to reride any grade 3 or any card from your soul that's a Rockroid. You mainly want to ride a grade 3, so you can ride Carol on Carol or Carol into Chelsea. Sometimes if you don't have any CB, you can ride Carol to Alice. But Carol just allows you to get another Excel marker, so basically you still get your twin drive effect, but you just don't get an extra drive. So you do discard 2 cards, but you get another Excel, so you can get another Excel too, draw extra card and still do your 1 drive check. And this is not once a turn, so you can keep riding Carol on Carol, and you can keep doing that with Alice or Chelsea on Rigard Circle, or Elaine to put like a grade 3 into your soul. So if this deck is sort of dependent on counterblast, so depending on how many counterblasts you have, you can keep riding Carol over Carol, but you need another Carol in soul. So that's why it's important for you to filter out those Carols from either Marissa or through any other means, like putting another Carol from your hand into soul from either from Elaine or any other card that puts a Rigard into soul. So like you can put Jill, you can use Jill to put it into soul if you have the one in your hand, or you call it from Chelsea or even Alice. So this deck actually scales well against Force. It doesn't scale that well, but with the amount of filtering you get from Marissa and Abigail, and just being able to filter from Carols, you can put any card into the soul. Chelsea allows you to call those cards from the soul and be able to deck them. But Marissa, being a key component of you just getting 2 cards from your deck, is really powerful for it. So so again, the main purpose of the deck and the winning image is to ride Carol and to be able to use Chelsea to call more cards from the soul, and to be able to make these lanes that like multiple attacks in these lanes that are really hard for your opponent to guard. Again, it doesn't do that well into Force, but that's why we play fronts as well as some crits to be able to pressure your opponent's Vanguard, and knowing that, oh, if you rip a critical trigger, your Vanguard isn't just a low attack swing with 1 drive. If you get a crit and they no guard it, it's gonna punish them for not guarding the Vanguard attack. So let me go over some of the cards. So Marissa, of course, is just a filter. Jumping Jill allows you to extend attack. So if you have like I said, you can put another Carol in the back. If you called it from either like Alice or Chelsea, it allows you to extend and get another big lane going. So if you called Jumping Jill from Chelsea, you could call Edith with a bunch of Nightmare Dolls or Rockroids on the field. You can make Edith beat a really big swing. So even like with 5 or 4, it's still a pretty good column, and it's still a pretty good lane to hit over that Force number. That's why we play both Rhoda and Edith, to be able to hit over those Force numbers. Since this deck can really swarm the field easily by you calling out multiple cards, it is not afraid to have that board presence and to be able to put them back into the soul if needed to be. So Abigail allows you to get back your grade 3 Workroid from your soul. So if you have like a Carol in your soul, 2 Carols in your soul, or a Carol, you can get it back into your hand, or you can get back Chelsea or Alice, depending on the situation. It allows you to counter charge, and it allows you to soul charge when you place on the Vanguard Circle. Mara allows you to call extra cards while having to use CB or counterblast. So once you use Carol, you can call Maron from the soul, and you can make a lane either with Edith or Rhoda to make a very powerful lane, or you can just call it with Chelsea if you need to be. Brassy Bunny is just a tech in the deck, so there are some times you need to either soul charge some cards or to be able to like filter for a specific card. So if you have like a vanilla draw or a card that you don't need in your hand that won't really be helpful for the turn, you can use Brassy Bunny to just discard that card and to be able to soul charge potentially what you need in your soul. So if you needed like another Carol to do the double Carol play, if you have enough CB, or you needed like a Jumping Jill, or any of these other cards that you need, it's really helpful. And I don't run it at more copies because it's not a Rookroid, but it's just good enough as a one of to be able to be used. And Beverly allows you to make your front row essentially like a mini Excel 2. So this is just the same as the Cole Kahinin column. So instead of like 10k you have both, but but Beverly allows your Vanguard to be 17k because you're always rewriting, and even if you don't hit a trigger, she still allows you to get like half of a trigger, so it's like a mini Excel. As well as like if you have her in a column like with Alice, you can call a card from Chelsea and it'll still get the 5k. So just putting it behind the Vanguard is like your best opportunity to be able to create that pressure while having to commit so much cards and always a booster. So even though it's a 7k, it's still a really powerful card, being allowing your Vanguard to be able to hit over 17k hit. It still hit even with a trigger, unless your opponent's force and has a 13k base. Now for the triggers, I play more fronts because you have a lot of units in the front row. You have a lot of grade 2s, sometimes even grade 1s, and you want to hit numbers, and you attack a lot. Crits don't really do much since it only triggers one unit, and they only get 1 power and 1 critical, which your opponent can easily guard. But with fronts, it just puts pressure on all your units. So if you caught an Edith or Rhoda from Chelsea or some other unit like Carol or Alice, it just allows your front row to have that much pressure. The crit sentinels just in case, it's just to put more pressure and to confuse your opponent. So if they see that you guard with crit sentinel but haven't seen you had any Hades Hypnus in your hand, or draw check or damage check, that they'll think you're just playing crit sentinels. So that might entice them to be a little bit more reckless, but that is just the gist of the deck and the gist of the strategy and the winning image of the deck. So for the weaknesses, my friend, he didn't play this deck exactly, but I did play him a couple of times with Nightmare Dolls, and I found out that if you attack their rear guards and pressure their rear guards, they lose a lot of steam, meaning they have to commit a lot more cards from hand, which most players, most newer players or players who aren't familiar with Nightmare Dolls, will just simply leave them alone and not attack into them. But the issue is with Nightmare Dolls, if you leave those rear guards available for the player to use, they can just hit up front and just make it punish you for not like attacking into them. So any decks that like retires a lot, which is not a lot in the meta right now, so like Blade Master or Shadow Paladin, if you're playing like Blaster Overlord or something, decks that retire really slow down the deck, since this deck does not draw a lot. And that's also another thing, it doesn't draw a lot due to the fact that Carol discards 2 cards, and you get multiple Excel too, so you do kind of replace it, but you don't like get that much advantage. Like it's either a wash like for Elaine, or like yeah, it's a wash from like even like these 2 cards, they're a wash, so you don't really actually plus in the deck unless you're like hitting draws. So if you're pressuring their rear guards from the deck, you can essentially like out tempo them in that. However, even though that's like the only really main 2 weaknesses of the deck, Nightmare Dolls has a pretty good early game simply because Rhoda Edith exists, because you could toss on your hand and they can make solid numbers early game. And if they have like a Chelsea or Carol like they need, they could easily just still gain advantage and put pressure on you. This deck is actually really strong, I feel. Probably like, I wouldn't say it's a tier 1 deck, it's like close to tier 1, it's like high tier 2, I would say. It has a lot of good matchups, especially against like players who aren't familiar with the deck. They won't think to attack into their rear guards. But it's really a game of tempo and speed when it comes to fighting against Nightmare Dolls. So the text for the deck, there is a Silver Thorn that allows you to Soul Charge 2 when it attacks or Soul Charge 1 when it attacks or boosts. So it allows you to make a 13k booster, which is always nice, but also allows you to get extra soul. So other than Brassy Bunny, which is a turn 3 card for you to be able to Soul Charge 2, you could just do it simply like you could do it the same turn, but it's you could essentially just call the grade 1 in the back row or something and boost twice and you get your Soul Charge 2 for free. I just like the filter option for the deck to be able to find those important pieces I need. Other things you could do, you can also not play the crits. You could just go 8 fronts if you want and 4 draw. I still recommend you play like a crit or 2 so your opponent isn't super comfortable, because they'll mostly see the fronts and think that you're just playing fronts, so they'll most likely no guard, and when you hit a crit, you punish them for no guarding. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend playing more than 2 Alice, since Alice is a good card and it's probably like it's still a pretty terrifying card once it hits the field. But playing more kind of just makes the deck a bit bricky, in my opinion, since most of your cards can search other Nightmare Dolls or just does Alice's job. Even though it isn't like an extra attack, you can still extend attacks with like Jill. You can still make power columns with Edith, and Chelsea also allows you to make the Carol play happen. So you mainly want a Carol and a Chelsea. Alice is there to extend and allow you to essentially use multiple Carols in the same turn, as long as you have Chelsea on the board, as well as you being able to get more Carols or Chelseas from the soul from Abigail if you called her. So even though you might not see Alice, it is an important card, but you don't need to flood your deck with like more than 2, since you do not want to ride Alice. Riding Chelsea is completely fine because you can always multi-attack, and riding Carol's okay because you can you can rewrite to get another Excel. You just don't want to ride Alice. So I believe that's it for the text. So my closing remarks for the deck: I think this deck is really strong and it's really fun. I've just been watching my friend play. He plays really amazing with it. He's a really amazing player. Just watching him play the deck, and it just looks so fun, and it looks really strong the way how he plays it. So I kind of wanted to do the deck justice by doing a deck profile for it. Sorry, I cracked. A deck profile for it. So that's why I made this video, to highlight some of the good points of Nightmare Dolls, because I think it's a very cheap deck to build. It's not a lot of expensive pieces, and most of the pieces are from Cleanse Selection 2, Volume 2. So other than like, I guess, Brassy Bunny and Edith and Rhoda and Beverly, most of the cards are pretty cheap, and you don't have to pay that much to build a deck, which I might actually end up building the deck just to see how far Pale Moon goes and how well I like the deck in real life. So anyway, I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.